It's a minute gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the studios of Classic 105.5 and 105.9. Welcome to another edition of To The Point for today, the 5th day of the month of January. And 5 days is here, the 5th day is here, and we are motoring along. Especially good morning to those of you that's joining us on the different various platforms. And those who are joining us on television, Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channel 20 if you are in cable, or via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd, our Facebook page, or YouTube channel. Indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you. I'm Joseph Cadore, and I'm saying thank you wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and thanks for being part of the Classic family. As today, I do apologize for, because traditionally, programming-wise, the police it's expected to be here, but you can well appreciate everybody's the first week and everybody we're trying to get all things lined up, and so certainly we do apologize for those of you who are expecting them based on our programming schedule. But what we want for us to do this morning is have a conversation, and I'm hoping that we can have a really constructive conversation that seeks to address some of the challenges as it relates to domestic violence in the country. It's a demon, it's a scourge that we cannot. I know there are some people who think, well, we speak of it too often. Well, we keep speaking of it because it continues to raise its ugly head. And certainly the question is as to what has gone wrong. What has gone wrong? Why would it be? And violence, not just in the context of the traditional context of men against women, but violence in the context of women against men, and now you have in cases where across the varied genders. What is going wrong? What can we do? I wanted to have that conversation, and hoping we can have that objective conversation this morning as we open the lines To The Point for today. I think we've lost a caller, 435-2041. That is the number on the inside. Certainly reminding you that you can make your contributions to via our social media platform. And good morning, caller, you are live.
Good morning to you, Joseph, and morning to your listeners and your viewers. I tried to call first this morning because I want to continue a conversation that started this morning on Innocent program, where you raised the issue of the pre-adolescent issue. One of the things I think that we don't really listen to each other, so we don't really learn. Because some of the things I've said were confirmed by some of the speakers. There's a researcher in the United States who did some study on honesty, and he found out that generally, there's 1% of any population that would never steal. There's another percent that would always steal, no matter what you put in lock fence on. But he said there is 98% of us who would conveniently steal if we feel we get away. And one of the farmers called and said, well, part of the problem and the biggest enemy of the farmers was the farmers themselves. We don't look at ourselves as being complicit very often in problems that we are talking about, we trying to solve. And as one of the songs that Innocent played later, I think was from one of the singers, we can't even please our own self because certain things inside of us are telling us this and that, and because the world is like what is inside of us, and unless we rectify, unless we reform ourselves, unless we transform ourselves into a more decent human being where we honest to each other, honest to ourselves, we're going to live the way we live in. We're very reactive. A problem happens and we move and we try to solve it. We don't ask us, how did we arrive at those problems, and what can we do to ensure that those things will not carry over in the future? So I thought I really must emphasize that most of the problems that we face, we are complicit in it in some way. After Hurricane Ivan, I like to repeat that, a Pentecostal preacher on Market Hill said that we are a nation of thieves. He was reacting to what happened after Hurricane Ivan. And if we get a chance, we'll thief from one another. And as we thief each other's time, we make people turn up and we go, everything about we need to examine ourselves. Thank you very much. I could go on and on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. 435-2041. Well, I just want to add to that, though, and I'm not going to get into debate. And a minister of the gospel saying that we're a nation of thieves doesn't necessarily make that a matter of fact. And just want to say so. If somebody comes tomorrow and they say, well, X, Y, and Z, is that really a true representation of who we are? And sometimes things are said in whatever context. And then what we don't realize that we're doing is that we're inviting spirits into our lives. So it's not necessarily because somebody says something that we gravitate towards it as being the gospel truth. But I do agree that is a problem, the issue of predialosity. However, with that being said, I'm hoping that we can work with me, if we can, at the issue of violence against women, violence against our boys, violence against our girls. And it comes to different strata. Some says that some men assume that they have rights to women. You hear men referring to the female, the opposite gender as the thing, that's my woman, and all these sort of variances that comes into play. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller, you're live.
Hi, good morning, Joe, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
First of all, let me compliment you on something you said to a caller a couple of days ago who spoke of agriculture as being dirty work. And it just shows the lack of understanding of what agriculture is. Globally, less than 40% of agriculture involves farming. A lot of the money and the revenue from agriculture comes from packaging, transportation, distribution, advertising, and all those things. Ganja is marijuana. Ganja is also agriculture, you know. You can tell a drug dealer that he's doing dirty work, right? And most of the money is not made in the field. It's made in other areas. That's agriculture too. I don't recommend it, but it is agriculture. It's a garden crop.
Okay.
So if we look at agriculture as not just being farming, but a lot more than farming, we can see lots of opportunities for young people in this very important, essential field. So it's good that you told him that it's not correct to say it's dirty work. Only probably 40% of it is dirty. The other 60% is certainly not dirty.
That is quite true. And very often the challenge of call is that very often the weedy adults are the one that sells that notion to them. Yeah. And then we wonder, why is it that they tend not to gravitate towards it? Some people say, well, I'm not sending my child to school to go into agriculture. And
you can be an agronomist. You can be a vet.
So many fields.
You can be an expert in soil testing. There's so many things. You can be a large company that purchases wholesale from farmers, as Mark in the boat should be doing, and redistribute. You can be an agro-processor. There are so many things that you can do that have nothing to do with the soil. And the more services that are offered at a higher level, the more encouraged the farmers would be to produce.
Correct.
So it has to be tackled from both ways. You can't just sell to the plants. You also have to provide them services later on for sales and for marketing and other things. So it's erroneous to look at it as being dirty work. It's far from being dirty work.
Thank you, caller.
Right. Now, another thing quickly on the matter of predialosity, quickly. This morning I was angry. I was hurt when I heard some probably well-intentioned people defending, rationalizing, condoning predialosity on the basis that people can't find jobs or the economy is not growing fast enough. We have to be very careful about just treating things in a homogeneous way. 2 days ago, the first 2 days of the year, we had 2 vehicular accidents. And first thing, everybody saying speeding. Did they do any check to find out if any of those accidents were caused by speeding? We just make statements. From what I've gathered, one of them may be from fatigue, and the other one may have been because, rumors, that may be alcohol.
Right.
Nothing to do with speeding, but then we say we must crack down on speeding. Now, we have to do some sort of profiling of the people who commit those crimes. Some of them have access to land that is not working. Some of them are even working for the farmers that they are robbing. So they actually have jobs. And some of them would never work. They're looking for quick ways of getting money.
Right.
So to make an excuse, and it's never correct to justify criminal activity, and to say that these people are doing it because the economy is not growing or because there is no work, to me it's a shame, and it emboldens them and encourages them to do something which they don't have any excuse for doing. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
435-2041, that's the number on the inside. And I like what the caller said, maybe they have good intentions, and maybe they try to rationalize, but I mean, the reality of it is that there's never a justification to it. And the same can be said when it comes to the way we treat women. They treat the opposite gender. Well, I reacted that way because, and we make an excuse about it. She wore a short skirt, so therefore, she looks voluptuous. She has her cleavage outside, so therefore, as a result of, this is my actions. It doesn't quite work like that. I'm sorry. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Yes, Joseph Cadore, good morning and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you and good morning.
For a while, just hearing the point. It is sad to hear that people referring to the soil as dirty. We are made from the dust, from the mud. Human beings were created by God from the dust, from the mud. So when we say the soil is dirty, we are calling ourselves dirty. We are made from soil. God made us from the soil, from the dust of the earth. And that's why it says, dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. So when we call it, now, when God created Adam and Eve, he didn't put them in an office, he put them in a garden. It had to do with planting and so forth. So that is what God created from the beginning, agriculture. And A, first letter of the alphabet. So when people decline agriculture, what do they eat? The technology? If they don't like agriculture, then they shouldn't be eating anything that comes from the soil, because it takes some human beings to do it. And as your callers are intimated, there are so many different variants of agriculture.
Correct.
So when we call it dirty, I mean, the soil in particular is dirty. The soil is dirty, that's what soil is. That's the reality. That is what God made, and that is what it is. Soil is not dirty. Why should we call it dirty? You see? I do agree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
435-2041, and certainly I think very often the challenge that we have, and again it comes down to our ability to express ourselves. And sometimes I understand what people are trying to get at, but sometimes it just comes, and when you try to correct them, it just comes wrong. But you can't say, there's some things you just can't make those blanket statements. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Good morning. I just wanted my point heard because I was not created from dust. One man God created from the dust of the earth. That's Adam. The rest of us, it's a different story. But must know it all as usual.
Thank you very much, sir. 435-2041. That's the number to get in on the inside. On the inside, and certainly it's an open line. And again, I want us, if we can, to share some spirit thought at some point regarding one of the scourge that has come to pervade our lives, the issue of violence against women, violence against boys, women and violence against other women, violence boys against boys. We seem to be becoming a very violent society, and the question that begs to be asked is why. And if we have in fact become a violent society, the questions, well, have we become more or less civilized? Some will argue that violent nature, that some will argue, is part of the innate man, our natural tendency to be aggressive. But you would think that we've become cultured as a society. We've gained information, we've gained knowledge, we've gathered knowledge, and we should not allow our natural instincts, that predatory instinct, to kick in and become the order of who we are. But it is just quite interesting. The number on the inside, 435-2041, reminding you that you can also make your contributions via the social media network. We're going to go to social media, contribution coming via WhatsApp. And this person says, I don't understand why we call agriculture dirty work. all work could be considered dirty depending on what context we use, and that certainly it is quite true. We use computers, it's considered the fastest spreader of germs. A doctor can become so badly infected in dirty work. Just an example. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Well, I am going to be a bit controversial like I usually do on generally.
Good morning to you.
You know, yeah, and I want to wish you all the best. Good health.
Thank you.
So people always say that God made from the dust and the earth and so on. But if you really check it out, I'm more to the scientific side. The human body is really made up of 90% of water, not dirt. Probably you could go and ask Lacroix and all these other people who have dealt with. Water is what the body made up of, because water is life. And everybody know if we don't drink sufficient water, or if we're in a desert, or if something happened and we don't get water to sustain the body, we could die. That is why I am of the opinion that this thing about God make from the dust and all kind of thing, that is my belief, and I respect other people's position. And it's not that I want to be disrespectful to religion, but the bottom line is that being made from no dust, that's what they just tell us. The body is made up of 90% of the water, and this is why water is so important. If it was dust, then when something happened to us in the middle of the desert or some kind of thing, then we'll take dust to keep us alive. But the mere fact is that we have to keep water to bring us alive. So the body is made up of mainly percent water and not really dust.
Okay.
People say, thank you.
Fair enough. 452041. And I said I like those varied points of view, and I said it allows for a process of learning where we would disagree with each other, but of course certainly at the end of the day we maintain our respect for each other, and I'm perfectly okay with that. 435-2041, that is the number on the inside to get in to share your points, whatever your consideration is. Somebody via social media says the issue of violence against women is not a today issue. Why are we fussing? And I will tell you after this caller that's live why we are fussing, my dear sir, my dear contributor. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I'm listening, and I didn't want to call, but I have to call. I think people misinterpreting things that come out from the Bible. It's just a metaphor. It's like when they tell you if your left hand offend you,
to cut it out.
Cut it out. But physically you want to cut it out. Yeah? It's just quotes. It's just to keep. If your left hand, to keep your left hand away from offending you, do the right thing. I mean, he created the heaven and the earth, and he said, "Come, dust you come, dust you shall go back." If you listen to all these things, come on, man. People, we have to be realistic. You know, we too controversial as a people here in Grenada. I mean, it's good, but every little thing, I think we're blowing certain things out of proportion.
Well, no, my take on it is, certainly I think that's what makes us human beings, our ability to have variation of thoughts and opinions. Once we maintain a line of respect, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
I always see. I'm waiting for the first person to come back from the other side, because you're always hearing that when you're there, you're going to the great beyond, and you're going here and you're going there, and you understand where I'm coming from, eh? I am waiting for the first person to come back and tell me how the other side is.
Or maybe you just have to wait until your turn comes.
Well,
why wait for them to come back?
You understand where I'm coming from?
I understand. I tell you what, the issue of religion and even politics, it conjures up some very, very opinions on a lot of issues, and certainly, I think that's why some people they keep away from the whole conversation as relates to religion. Who's right? Who's wrong?
Yeah.
To each his own.
I just say, when you're dead, you're done. And to back up what I'm saying, I'm waiting for somebody on the other side to come and say, however it is. Well, nobody can come so far for much.
I don't want us to labor on it, but even the expression that when you're dead, you're done, that can be taken figuratively or literally. When you're dead, your contribution, your life here, as we know it, is over. That's it.
It lives on.
Well, but hold on. In the physical realm, you're done. There's no coming back for you. As to what happens, whether you believe there's another side or your transition, that's the conversations for the theologians and so to query. All I say is that, listen, bro, I'm living a good life as best as I can. I
have another point.
Thanks for the input.
Briefly, I have another point. I have a problem with some agents. Well, let me make an example. You're contributing for how much years, and when you reach 70-something, 80-something, why are you doing with money? I believe yes, it's true you need money to survive in certain ways, but I believe when you're young and you have monies in places like insurance agencies or NIS or wherever, and you're young, you access that money and make your life better while you're young instead of when you reach old. There are people. I don't want to reach a stage where people have to be changing my pampers and all them things. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but you mentioned NIS, but what is it? That is something that is separate and apart from NIS. That's not NIS's role is not to determine what happens to you in your old age. You make contributions while you're able, and at the end, when you're no longer part of the active workforce, you get a portion of that so that your life can continue. But as to what happens, as to how you live, that has to be a conversation that takes place between you, your family, and those that's close to you. But me, I want to live a nice, ripe old age. But as I said, nobody wants to think about the point that they get old and people have to be worrying about them. But thank you though.
All right, you take it.
Okay. 23 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. Thank you, caller, for your contribution. Just to go back to the person on Facebook that I asked, the issue of violence, that we are violent by nature. Nature evolves. We evolve. And even if we're violent by nature, if that's your argument, we're within a civilized society. And if you can't exist within a civilized society, then maybe we have to consider a plan B. But there's a caller that's alive. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
I need to say a few things. Don't bear me wrong. The first thing I must say is this. When God created man, there was not a previous man created observing what God was doing to see that he took dust from the earth and made man. Who saw that? The next thing I want to say is this. The Bible is not a book. The Bible is a collection of books. It is a library. In a library, you get the book of songs. You get the book of poetry. You get novels. You get mythology. We have to understand the language in the Bible. And man wasn't around when God was creating the earth. So what we read in the Bible, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. This is very, very important. The next thing I want to talk about is this. When we say world without end, and we say amen, we must think of these few words. Creation is space and matter, infinitive, without end. Not the earth, not the solar system, not the galaxies, not the Andromedas. That is innumerable, too much for man and his limited brain to conceive. I cannot conceive of God. We speak about the hand of God. What God needs the hand for? The eyes of God. What God needs the eyes for? It is human language with all its frailty. Let us think about it that way.
Okay.
The God who created us is far more than we can imagine. And as human beings, we can never imagine who God is. The next thing I'm going to say is this.
Quickly, sir.
I think that the government should find some way of censoring all smut and vulgar music played on the airwaves in local radio stations in Grenada. It pollutes the minds and the hearts of the children and the young people. And finally, I must say, women are abused by men because many of the nasty things that men do to abuse women, they succumb to it and they enjoy it. Women must find value in themselves, place value on themselves, and stand up for the rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I probably would have preferred that we start the conversation in reverse order. But, oh, good Lord. It's 27 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on To The Point.
To see my granddaughter.
That's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Thank you. Welcome back to the program. It's 29 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock in the morning time. It's an open line. For those of you probably just joining us, again, we do apologize for the absence for the police, who's traditionally, customarily here with us on a Thursday. I do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
What did you say?
It's really interested to hear the previous callers and the statement. Make a really powerful statement. I believe we need to send home some of those messages and kind of continue opening up our people's eyes. The one on the concern with Bible is correct. The Bible is just a history book. But besides that, and when you talk about spirituality basically, and we talk about the ancestors when you're dead and you're done, I disagree with that. Because when we enter this world, it has something called the umbilical cord that connects between you and your mother that gives you life. And if you read Solomon's, they talk about that umbilical cord between God and man. And that, if you study African spirituality, they teach you whether your grandparents or your ancestors, they are with you. They're connected with you. They are part of you. From your mother go right back. You understand? So when people teach that Africans are worshiping saints and they can't be worshiping saints and whatever, there's a whole teaching about that. But nevertheless, I'm a leader there. What my concern is, you raise the thing about violence about women. Mm-hmm. Right. Which, in a society, yes, that happened. But the same women fight for empowerment. And with empowerment, the woman is paying money to governments, and yes, they give them empowerment and they give them rights. But there is a concern. There's women using the system because how the law is designed. It is encouraging women to commit crime against men and nobody not looking into it. There's a lot of injustices being done to man, and it's been done. A woman could just pack up a truck and drag out all the stuff from your house, and you go to the police and there is nothing until you go to a lawyer. So therefore the system designed for people within the justice system to make money, and you as a man don't have a voice. No, that itself is breeding violence. Some men might take it and some men will react to it.
Right.
You understand? And it's we must have a balance, and the system is not balanced. Okay. There's a lot of injustices go wrong tongue in the night. We have journalists, we have media house. Go in tongue in the night, or 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and see how much men is sleeping on the street. And questions, you know, and ask some of these men questions. Some of them not mad. It's because the system that sets up that create that. And this itself is breeding violence, because what you want them to do the ending up of the day, and then when you go out to work or you have a home, and within the system how it's set up, you're out on the street after 50 years, because somebody talk about just now with NIS, and you reach at a certain age, people should keep up the riches, not when they're old, from when they're young, and they should use it up or whatever it is. But when you get old, that is when you need more money.
Fair enough. But just want to clear the air on a comment that you made that I don't want to, because I don't want it to be misconstrued. I, for one, I have no problems with the advancement and progression of women in society. I support it, and I think the conversation should be that we condemn violence in its entirety, whether it's violence. Predominantly there's violence against women by men, and that is wrong. And I think, and I'm in agreement with you, that so too we should call it out in its reverse order if it is women that is committed an act against men. I think the issue is that violence, we should get to a point in society where we say to violence should not be part of who we are as a civilized nation.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
and the ending up at the last thing, I need people to really catch up early on. Two problems we have in this world. We have a problem with religion that plaguing our life, and we also have a problem with politics.
A problem with what, sir?
Politics.
Politics. Well, that is true. That is true.
And the next one is internal. And because of that, we cannot focus and really work as a people and build, because there's a war taking place in the world right now. And where food is concerned and cost of living is concerned, look where we are today. We read out a budget, and to date in here, nobody talk about a 6 months or how much agriculture plan, because we're going into a dry season. Some people going to really have a rough time.
Well, let's hope that we all do what we can.
Our leaders to step up.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
4252041. I think the issue of violence, and they should not, in any way, form, or fashion, be an excuse for violence within our society. And one of the callers was making the reference to the issue of perennial larceny, that we're justifying somebody infringing on somebody else's rights. Well, because they might be hungry. Hello, I may understand that, but does that make it right? We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
It's very, very, very interesting topics going on here. And I'm glad it's first time I'm calling and I'm getting through.
I'm happy that. Well, I guess that's your New Year gift.
Yes. Now, one of the things on a couple of topics that a couple of people mentioned, on the dirtiness of agriculture and whatnot, I quite agree with some of the callers that it's not dirty work. Every job have its dirty aspect. On the human body definitely is made up of earth and water. 77% approximately is water. But if you check the elements that the body is made up of, zinc, iron, chromium, you name it. It's all, from the earth. So therefore, we are also dust as well as water. On violence towards women, now that is a very, very, very huge. That's a huge topic, and I think violence towards women. It stems from the historical aspect, of course, that the male dominated the world, and they always want to be in control. We have the alpha male thing that has been going on for all these eons, about the alpha male and what have you, and the woman being the weaker vessel and all of that. But as you rightly commented earlier on, we have evolved from that, and therefore violence is something that, yes, it's innate in all of us, male and female. But as we evolve and we develop as a society, we have to really learn to control ourselves.
Correct.
It is you, the individual, male or female, have to decide, hey, how am I going to react to a situation? Because as it is said, it's not what the person does. It's how you react to what the person does.
And that's a choice that you make ultimately.
Exactly. You now have to look at yourself and ask yourself, is reacting violent to this person the right way or the answer to the problem? Because as it is taught, the human brain, human mind, we can only focus on one thing at a time. We have this thing about multitasking, but you cannot multitask, really. No person could multitask. You cannot look at something and think about it and listen to something else at the same time. Your focus will either be on listening or looking. You will be seeing things, but you will not be focused on it, because you'll be seeing something and not actually seeing what's really happening while you're listening to something else.
Right.
So when it comes to the violence, you as the individual have to learn self-control. And a caller made a statement earlier on about the music that is pumped in society, and this is world over. Music is one of the most powerful force on this planet, and it is the most, I would say, from my point of view, it is the most influential force when it comes to shaping one's thoughts and one's behavior in society. Okay. Apart from your parenting,
Because really and truly, your parents are the first guiders in your life. They are the ones who say, hey, you know what, this isn't good music to listen to, and it has to be from a young age. So I do not condone violence against women, period.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Appreciate it. 19 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. Social media is on a buzz. Good morning to you, Ernesto. He says, well, good morning. I want to urge Grenadians that I think we have to make use of the God-given talents and not just depend on government to do all for them, but plant a garden to eat healthy, create jobs by selling the produces, and also making nectar and others that can contribute to their well-being. And I think my good morning, so was just talking about the idea, what do we do as we navigate our way through 2020-23? PM says it's going to be a difficult year, and I think as we focus on that, that should be part of our resolution, our collective ambition. I know some people don't like to hear the term resolution. Call it what you want. It's a goal, a dream, an ambition. That's what you plan to do. We come back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Two issues.
Yes, go
There's
ahead.
a law that was passed and implemented from Sunday gone in Jamaica. A law that is so absolutely sensible that for that kind of reason, for years I've been complaining about what's going on in Grenada concerning such a thing. And listen to it. In Jamaica, they passed a law where all bike riders are bound to wear a helmet to ride a bike. Now, that is good. But if you have a law in a country and there is no helmet to get, the people who sell in the bike doesn't sell helmet, then it doesn't make sense. So what the lawmakers make sure they do is make sure that the people who bring in bikes, they have to bring in helmet with every bike. So when you buy a bike, you buy a helmet along with it. So you have no excuse.
Right.
For years in Grenada, I've been complaining. Where you buy vehicles and so on, the parts that you need to have the vehicle up to date, so that when you go and go to pass inspection, you can guarantee getting passed. Simple parts you need, sometimes you cannot get it. So that the government for years have not been attending to that. So a lot of people have vehicles pack up when they are bought it from whichever agency, and it's just there. That's one of the reasons we have a lot of direct business in this country,
Right.
So that they cannot pass inspection. The government need to make sure that when you have certain responsibilities, certain agencies and so on, they have to have supplies to make sure that their business is kept up. If you get the point I'm making.
And let me just add to what you're saying, because the law in itself, which is the Road Traffic Act 2018 and the Road Traffic Regulations Act, that slated to be implemented in February, next month, it is all part of efforts to address the increasing alarming number of road fatalities that Jamaica has experienced. And certainly just to guide strategies, and I'm saying that so that persons get to and appreciate, because you made mention of it, but you didn't give the background to it. But it's an excellent point that you make, and I think we keep hearing about road accidents, road fatalities, and the culture where even bike men, we need to start changing that bike men for some reason assume that because they're much smaller, when the traffic holds up, that it doesn't apply to them. That's an opportunity for me to speed it ahead and try to make way. But at the very point where you make it, we need to find ways to address our issues. Jamaica is taking a proactive way, means of doing that, and I'm hoping that the records show that between January 1st, that we're going last year, and December 8th of that last year, that 444 persons died from 386 motor vehicular collisions, and November, and certainly. We've seen a trend in Grenada, and I'm just happy that you've highlighted it. Now we need to be proactive and deal with it.
Another issue. We live in a society. All my life I've noticed it. And I grew up being called a rebel because I look at society, do the analysis of it all my life. This is one of the reasons I was a part of politics at one time. And all you see is a set of contradictions, a set of lies. So we have a situation in this country where people are called Christians, generally speaking, perpetuating lies in the name of Jesus the Christ. They have a problem with people who thief, or robbers and thieves are the worst of the people in society. To most people who are called Christians, or religious people generally speaking, or so-called decent people, the worst of the people are thieves. But they live lie, and I'm not talking about hypocrisy where, you're pretending to be somebody and you're pretending to be that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you perpetuate a lie every day. For example, this Christmas thing is a lie. The way they go about the Easter thing is a lie. A whole set of thing about going to heaven, either you go to heaven or you go to hell, it's a lie.
Let me hold on. So we're taking this conversation down a different line.
I am bringing up a point.
Hold on, sir. Excuse me, sir.
I am bringing up a point.
Excuse me, sir. I'm not discounting the fact that you are making a point, but I'm just saying that you're taking this on a different tangent. That's all I'm saying. I mean, we were dealing with certain issues. I know you're trying to open a Pandora's box, but what is a lie?
People need to discuss, and that's what the problem is,
But my dear sir, you see, therein lies the problem. I give you an inch, my dear sir, and you opted to want to take a yard to try to perverse people as to what your opinions are. That's the challenge, sir. If you determine that you want a platform to introduce your own theology and doctrines, I don't have a problem with that, sir. The GBN can well provide you with it, but I gave you a few minutes to share, and I allowed you to. All I'm saying to you, share, and let's be objective and succinct in our delivery. That's all I'm asking you, sir. I'm not trying to control you, but here you're going down, but what is a lie? That's a different conversation, sir. I mean, and this is not the platform for us to try to take that conversation down that line. We may share different things. You may not agree on it, my dear sir. But to say it's a lie, and that's a different conversation. And I mean, I really, 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 really do apologize, my dear sir. But thank you very much, though. 12 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. Folks, we have to learn to appreciate that we may have our opinions on certain things. But some people, we try to abuse the liberties that are extended to us. Sometimes we really do try to abuse it. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning. How you doing?
Wonderful, thank you.
And good morning to you listening and viewing our audience on Facebook. What I would like to see for 2023 on your program and all other calling programs and Facebook programs where talk show is being hosted, I would like to see people respect people's views, because everybody think different. Everybody have their different opinion, views on topics, issues. So people must respect people. For instance, someone will call a program, will call after the caller and say that caller is this, that caller is that. People need to respect people's views. That's the only way we can learn and develop as a people.
I'm with you 100%, sir.
Yeah, because you might comment on Facebook on your program, somebody else will come and criticizing you and calling you all kind of names. People need to stop that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
And remember, the issue is not about disagreeing. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to say, I don't agree. But the same way you don't think that person's position is correct, why then should you assume that your position becomes the right one? So their position is wrong, it's erroneous. But there you are trying to determine that that's just a lie and that what you're telling me becomes the gospel truth. Now, how dear. Nigel John says, good morning, everyone. Please let us respect each other's views and opinions, whether we agree or not. And I'm saying that it's just a culture that we really and truly need to be aware of. Another caller said that we have a tendency for violence. Be careful what we claim. Whereas Grenadians have a tendency to be defensive and combative, we need to be calm, reasonable, and less hostile. Let's see if we can We're keeping the eyes on the clock. 10 minutes on to the hour in the morning time. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Once again, you had asked me that issue about the violence against women and so on. We need to take a deep look at that because, again, we are very reactive people. We need to look at the roots, and there are many factors that contribute to people being violent, to whether it's women, animals, or children. There's a situation where a neuroscientist in the States who studied the brain of serial criminals, and he said one day he decided to examine his own brain and found out that there were similar patterns in his brain as he found in the criminals and them. And he said, so he became concerned. So he went and inquiring within his family what happened, and found out that within his family lineage there were criminals, serious criminals. And he had to pose the question, how come he didn't become like that? And the answer was, some of the answer was that because of the environment, he was in a stable environment, a loving family, which did not give the opportunity for triggers that he will go into criminality, and we need to examine those kind of factors. We create situations from childhood where parents, because they have not been trained properly, they begin the process of violence in the home, and we need to be able to help the parents, not condemn them, to be less violent from the beginning of the child. Thank you.
And let me thank you, caller. And just to add to the conversation, and very often when we think of violence does not always start off being physical. Yeah? Verbal. It is mental, emotional. We say to our child and our children that they're dumb, they're dunce, they're stupid. You find all sort of alternative, derogative ways to describe and determine how they are behaving or how they are not behaving. And if you say to them all their lives, well, you are worthless, you mean you don't have any value. At some point in time, when they get these urges, if mommy says to me or daddy says to me, this is who I am, then so be it. And we tend not to take heed of these things. Culture, how we in the environment, it is all part of those elements that contributes to our behavior. We're going to go back to the telephone line. Probably have time for a final caller. 435-2041. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller. 435-2041. That's the number on the inside. Agnes Mitchell says Criminals Act becomes prevalent when God is removed from our lives and from our society. So your points needs facts. It's an absence. And it's an absence of not just the absence of some eternal force, whether you choose to call them, but it's an absence of something. And we all need to start culturing our behavior and adapting to that environment that we need to exist in as a society. We go back to the telephone lines, the final caller. Good morning, caller.
How are you?
Wonderful, please. Thank you. Good. Have a few minutes.
Yeah. No, how you are stop the guy there. All right, you caught him so that I am disagree in certain things, because as one caller said, every to their own opinion.
Hello. Hello, caller. Hello. 5 minutes on to the hour in the morning time, caller. We shouldn't have lost you somewhere. And I keep saying, we have to learn to respect each other's opinions, and we have to find ways to be able to communicate our disagreements on different issues. You can't just blatantly tell it, well, they're telling a lie. Well, if you're telling a lie, how am I to determine that what you're telling me is the truth? You can share your position intimately, you can, and that's your humble opinion, and we will all respect each other. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller, you're alive.
Morning, Joe. Morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Joe, let me try to encourage you trying to suck some fruit, eat some fruit, right? Mm-hmm. We can process no fruits to bring back for we children to still suck, and we have it pure here.
and then they tell us processed things is detrimental. So they encourage them to suck the fruits, eat the fruits, right? Instead of processing it. We don't have enough to process to do no kind of business. And the agro industry has been going on long. My grandmother make all kind of things, right? From sugar cake, guava cheese, everything, Cameron ball, that's agro industry. Okay?
And
thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm just saying that what we need to do is that earlier in their lives it is introduced to them. That would help to add to the conversation. Not wait until they all grow up. And we also have to find different ways of preparing things. So, for instance, you may give a child half an orange to suck, and he may probably just make a mess of it. So what do? Just juice it. Give it to them, let them drink it first thing in the morning. They're not having it one way, they probably have it another way. The vegetables, are they going to eat carrots just like that? Maybe not. But certainly if you take the carrot, you grate it, and you mix it up in vegetables or some other format, whatever it is, you're making a cheese paste, simple as it is. You put some carrots in it, or you grate the carrots into rice, you cook. Listen, folks, there are different ways we can do different things, and I certainly am agreeing with the caller wholeheartedly that we need to make a concerted effort, literally, to provide our children, not just ourselves, an environment where we can have a more direct contact with nature and eat more natural stuff. But my dear listeners and viewers, this is as far as I can take you. This is Journey's End, 4 minutes on to the hour. I want to encourage us, as I always do, to find the best and become the best version of ourselves. Let's learn to respect each other. We may not always agree, and it was never my intention for you and I to always agree. I've always said, wherever you find an occasion where people always agree, that means you're living in a yes-man state, and we're not using our ability to think and perceive and perception. We will disagree, but let us continue to ensure that we respect each other's position. Until then, so long, everybody. JC loves you. Have a great one.